Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sean Patchett, and today I'm going to be your instructor. Today's lesson is going to be on the computer side of the E6B. This lesson will introduce the computer side of the E6B, its components, and its uses for navigation. So you're going to need your E6B and paper and pen. An overview for our lesson today is going to be, we're going to talk about the components, the conversions, time, speed, and distance calculations, fuel consumption, and airspeed and density altitude calculations. So why is it so important to calculate all the factors in navigation during flight planning? Being an efficient pilot is essential in the commercial world of aviation. Time costs money, lots of money. So being able to account for all the variables with navigation will help make your operation be as efficient as possible. It will also help you operate within certain regulations and keep an accurate account of your progress throughout your flight. So first here we're going to talk about components. Basically what you have here is your E6B. First component is the slide. Basically it just has some information on it. It's got off-course correction, flight plan information, special equipment suffix, wind component grid, and crosswind correction. I'm not really going to go over those. You also have two scales here. You have nautical mile scale for your world aeronautical chart, your sectional chart, and you have the same thing over here for statute miles. Second part, you have your card here, your rotating card. So on the rotating card, we have our altitude correction window here, or excuse me, your airspeed correction window here. This is your altitude correction window and your density altitude window. Right below it, you have your altitude correction formula and your airspeed correction formula. Here you have, or let me go to this. This little black triangle here is called your rate index. And here you have two formulas for, says basically set your miles per hour, your knots over your rate index, and that will give you distance and time. Distance on the outer scale, time on the inner scale. Set your gallons per hour over the rate index. That'll give you total gallons over time. We'll go over that more. Basically you have three scales here. Your outer ring here on the non-movable part, non-rotating part of the card is your A scale. This outer ring on the rotating card is your B scale, and the inner ring is your C scale. The outer ring, the A scale, basically represents whatever variable you're working with, like miles or gallons or pounds. Your B scale represents time in minutes, and your C scale represents time in hours. And the B and C scales correlate with each other. So if you look at the B scale here, 90, right below it is 1 hour 30 minutes. So 90 minutes equals, 1 hour and 30 minutes. And it's like that all the way around. And you also have all these lines in between all the numbers are known as lines of calibration. Basically, on this part, you have 10 lines in between each number, so those indicate like a 0.1 increase. But as you look around the scale here, between like 15 and 16, the lines change down to 5 in between each number, so now they equal 0.2 degrees. And then also at the 30 here, it changes to where it's only one line of calibration in between each number, so it's only it equals 0.5. So just be aware of that as you're using your tool here. So that's going to do it for our components. So a review is going to be name all the components of the calculator side of the E6B, and then what are the three scales and what do they each represent? Alright, next we're going to talk about conversions. All right. So the first one we're going to talk about is converting nautical miles to statute miles, or vice versa. Okay, so how you're going to do that is here on your A scale, you'll look at the number 70, you'll see that there's a, just on either side of it, there's a nautical mile with a little arrow, and it says statute over here with an arrow. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take your B scale and whatever variable you're working with, whether it be nautical or statute, we'll say nautical miles, you have a known distance of, say, 70 nautical miles, and you want to convert that to statute miles. What you're going to do is you're going to take that 70 on your B scale, you're going to put it under that nautical mile arrow, and then you're going to go over to your statute mile arrow and follow that arrow down to your B scale, and that's going to tell you how many statute miles it is. So for 70 nautical miles, it's going to be about 81 statute miles, and vice versa. If you want to convert statute into nautical, just place your number under the statute mile arrow on your B scale and read it under the nautical mile arrow. One other thing you can do is you can convert either one of those into kilometers or kilometers into either statute or nautical miles. So what you want to do is basically the same principle. Over here on the A scale, by the number 12, you have the kilometer arrow. So basically you follow the same rule. Whatever you're converting, you put it on your B scale under the corresponding arrow, and then read under the other arrow for your conversion. You can also, another conversion is feet to meters. So here we have feet by the 14 on your A scale. You'll see feet with an arrow going down, and then meters on your B scale is in between the 40 and the 45. Basically, if you just line those two arrows up, now your whole scale is converted. So you have feet on the outside and meters on the inner scale. So basically 10 feet here equals 3 meters, roughly. Okay, so you have feet to meters, and basically these all go both ways. We also have quantity and weight conversions. So our first is going to be fuel. I'll go ahead and write it up here. How you want to do that is basically, so you want to figure out how many pounds of fuel you have. You're going to take, you have up here on your A scale by the just before the 80 there, you have fuel pounds, and say you have, we're using US gallons, so you want to put that US gallons you'll find on the B scale, you want to line that arrow up with your fuel pounds on the A scale, and then basically just go around and however many gallons you have, read across, and that'll give you your pounds for how much fuel you have. Another is oil. Same concept here. However many gallons you have, just go up here to the oil pounds on your A scale, line those two arrows up, and now your whole scale is converted. So now we have gallons. We have US, and I'll write that one out. US and imperial gallons. So we have our own gallon system here in the US, and then imperial gallons is something that like Canada uses, and they're a little bit larger than a US gallon. So this one you have both US gallons and imperial gallons on both A and B scales. So whatever you're converting, you want to put you want to use as your B scale. So say I have 20 US gallons. What I'm going to do is take that US gallon arrow on the B scale and line it up with my imperial gallon arrow on the A scale. and then go and find my however many gallons I have and just read across, and that'll give me my conversion. And you can do the opposite. If you have imperial gallons, line that up with your US gallons on the A scale, and that'll convert it that way. We can do pounds to kilograms. So you have kilograms on the B scale and you have pounds on the A scale. Basically all you're going to do is just line those two arrows up here, and now your whole scale is converted, and just read across. You'll have pounds on the A scale, kilograms on the inner scale, B scale. And our last one, we have, you can do liters to gallons. And again, it's just lining up the arrows. You have your liters here on the B scale, and you have imperial gallons or US gallons. So whatever, you could just put the liters to the US gallons, or whatever application you need it, and just convert across. Right, that's going to do it for conversions. A review is name the different conversions performed by the E6B. I want you to convert 100 nautical miles into statute miles and kilometers. How many imperial gallons is 30 US gallons? How much does a 30 US gallons of fuel weigh? And how much does 1 quart of oil weigh? So here's your hint, is there's 4 quarts of oil per gallon. Next, we are going to talk about time, speed, and distance. Calculations, or computations. First one we're going to do is time and route. Okay. For time and route, you need your airspeed and your distance. So we'll say our airspeed is 100 knots, and our distance, put that a little too big here. So we'll say our airspeed 100 knots, our distance is say 200 nautical miles. Our time and route is abbreviated there. So how you're going to do this is you're going to take, you have your airspeed, so you're going to do 100 knots per hour. You're going to put your rate index to your airspeed there, and then you're just going to go around to, now you're going to convert your A scale out to miles. So go to the 20 or 200 and read down 120 minutes or 2 hours. Okay. Next, we're going to do an unknown speed. For this, you need your distance, which will be 25 nautical miles, and your time and route. And we'll say we flew for 15 minutes. So what is our ground speed? That's what we're looking for here. So what you're going to do is you went 15 minutes, so your time in minutes, right, is your B scale. Take that 15 and put that to 25 here. Okay. That 15, line that 15 up under your 25 on the A scale, and then now go over to your rate index, and that's going to give you your speed per hour, and that's going to be 100 nautical miles, or excuse me, 100 knots. Alright, now we're going to do fuel endurance. That's basically how far you can get on full tank. So we need ground speed of 120. We're going to do fuel endurance of 3 hours. Okay, and so what is our distance? How far can we go with 3 hours of fuel at 120 knots is what we're looking for there. So we're going to take our C scale of 3 hours, put that under 120 knots, right? 3 hours on the C scale, 120 knots is our ground speed. Correction, we have our ground speed, so we're going to do our rate index at 120 knots, then we're going to go look at 3 hours. 3 hours, go up to the A scale, 360 nautical miles. Alright, that's going to do it for those. Compute for time and route. I'm going to do 125 knots. So 125 knots and a distance of 250 nautical miles. Give me your time and route there. If you're unknown, I want you to compute for 75 nautical miles and a time and route of 60 minutes. Give me your ground speed there. And for fuel endurance, we're going to do 140 knots and a running time of 4.5 hours. And then give me your distance on those. Alright. Next we are going to do fuel consumption. Okay, our first is hours of endurance. So you're going to have your consumption rate. Is say 10 gallons an hour. Okay, and then our capacity is going to be 30 gallons. Basically the R22 there, right? So what's our endurance? So how we're going to do that, just going to put that rate at 10 gallons per hour. We're going to go around to our A scale, look at 30 gallons here, and go down 3 hours of fuel endurance. Next we're going to do average fuel consumption. Okay. So here we have our capacity at 40 gallons. Our travel time of 3.5 hours. So basically we traveled 3.5 hours with 40 gallons of fuel. How much fuel were we burning per hour? So we're going to come down here to our C scale and find our 3.5 hours. We're going to line that up under our 40 on our A scale. Now we're going to run over here and look at our rate index. And that's basically going to give us 11.4 gallons of fuel per hour. Gallons per hour there. Okay, so a review for that is compute for hours of endurance, consumption 8.5 gallons per hour, capacity 40 gallons, and then compute for fuel consumption of 50 gallons and a travel time of 5.5 hours. Next, last but not least, we're going to do airspeed and density altitude. Airspeed and DA. Alright, we'll do this quick. So we need our pressure altitude here. Let's say that's 5,000 feet. Outside air temperature of 20 degrees Celsius and a calibrated airspeed. This is for true airspeed. We're doing of 85 knots. So we want to find our true airspeed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here under our airspeed correction window. We're going to put our temperature over. Our temperature in Celsius is right here on this one. We're going to put our temperature of 20 knots over our 5,000 foot pressure altitude window. And basically we're going to find our calibrated airspeed of 85 knots on our B scale here. And true airspeed is going to read on the A scale. So just go up from 85, and that's going to be 94 knots is our true airspeed. There. And then we're going to read our density altitude here. Under this crow's foot, in our density altitude window, go to this white crow's foot here, and that's basically just under 7,000, so we'll say about 6,800 feet is our DA for those conditions. Then basically, just review for that is compute for 4,000 foot DA, 25, and calibrated airspeed of 90. Give me your true airspeed and your density altitude. Just a review is that's going to do it for the lesson. We went over the components, all the different conversions you can do, time, speed, and distance calculations, fuel consumption and rate, and airspeed conversion, and density, how to find your density altitude. So that's going to do it for our lesson today. Thank you very much.